not a single country within or outside EU that is opposed to building strong ties with China.
What do you think of the impact of the refugee crisis that may have served to divide the European Union?
We gave these people a new future. We gave them hope. We gave them a new light. They were looking for light in Europe.
Greece is criticized by other European countries by playing with China, because they say, these countries in the European Union, that China prefers to have a one-on-one relation with some countries, including Greece.
A close relationship with China, which is a relationship which is very basic because it's based on a spontaneous and very deep sense of respect for the Belt and Road by the wise decision of your president. And now it's a collaboration, it's a network of countries that produce this and co-develop this big project.
Hi there. Throughout history, civilizations seeking fortunes and new lands have turned to the vast ocean. Ancient sea routes, like the revived Maritime Silk Road, have bridged continents across the seas. Greece, the cradle of Western civilization, has a strong seafaring history. Fast forward to modern times, China is quickly turning to the blue ocean for solutions to the world's biggest challenges, such as climate change and the rising sea levels, unprecedented security threats, refugee crises across the Mediterranean Sea, and conflicts over maritime territory. Today, in our special program, Dialogue with the World, I have the honor to be joined here by our Greek counterpart, co-host Theophanis Papantheonios from ERT Network and the Greek ambassador. But first of all, let me introduce my colleague next to me, Ambassador Chen Mingming, who is the former Chinese ambassador to Sweden and New Zealand. The next question is very much about the future of the European Union. My Greek counterpart somehow indicated quietly that the different positions that the Greek authorities adopted on the issue of the port has somehow distanced Athens from the political heartland in Brussels. Therefore, the question about the future on unity, cohesiveness of this regional integration, European Union, with the impact of a Brexit, and also with Greeks taking a different decision, although the ambassador says over and over this is a win-win situation. But do you think the European Union is likely to be eroded due to China's business presence in Greece, one of the strongholds of China's expansion in Europe?
Obviously, Brexit will be a very tough issue for Europe's future, but not China's relations with China. Let's don't think that's a starter for this discussion. China has not been really a divisive issue within the issue. Perhaps there is some debate about how far Europe should go in terms of building strong ties with China, but not about reversing the course. I see absolutely no sign of that. And I think all responsible politicians within the EU realize the importance of building strong political, economic, and cultural ties with China for the future of Europe. And I hope that they will move in this direction. And I'm quite optimistic about the future growth of China-European relations. I absolutely see no danger or crisis ahead. No.
Next question for the Greek ambassador. China seeks to step up cooperation with the Balkan countries. Greece has complex and sensitive relations with them. Now, is it possible to combine China-Greece advantages on maritime logistics with the proposed Hungary and Serbia railway? What are the major challenges?
Thank you very much for your question. But before, I wanted to say also to congratulate my colleague from China about his judgment about Europe and European Union and the future relations with China. May I remind also that China is one of our strategic partners, one of the European Union's strategic partners in the world. And we have a whole, strategy paper regulating our relations, our economic and other relations.
So one of them, I'm afraid, is the MOU on BRI, right?
Plus a connectivity strategy with European Union. With Greece in particular, yes, what is different, not all European countries have an MOU on the Belt and Road with China. We are one of them, and we are, I think, we have thought about it very carefully, and we think this is in our benefit that we did so, but we are not the only one. There are other European countries, most of them belonging to the Initiative 16+1, that have signed, and others that are, as far as I know, are thinking about it now. So I think this is one of the elements of our strategic relationship. May I also remind that Greece is connected with China with a strategic, comprehensive relationship since 2006. And we celebrated the 10 years when my Prime Minister was here in 2016. So with a new declaration. This is a very auspicious relationship, and a very dynamic one, evolving dynamically. Europe is essential to China, and China is essential to Europe. We have a very important dialogue. The summit that took place some time ago was successful, and it laid the foundations of a new, very, very important relationship with Europe. I think we have all the reason to believe that this is going to be a successful thing. Now,
fairness.
Yeah.
My Greek counterpart may agree with you in raising this question about the role that Athens could play. Greece is an ally by treaty of the United States, and you are also one of the closest strategic business partners of China in Europe. So having said this, Mr. Ambassador, do you think Greece may play this role in bringing Washington and Beijing closer despite all the disputes on trade and geopolitical issues?
First of all, let me say that an essential thing that you asked before, yes, to us, our relationship, as you know, we play a very, I would say, auspicious and very positive role in the Balkans. We were behind the European integration of the Balkans since the year 2000. We have actually, which has been very successful. It's now continuing, and it's to the benefit not just of Europe, but also to our Chinese and other friends outside.
Yes,
so number one. Number two, we are resolving problems in the Balkans, including with this agreement with former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, but not only. We are discussing with all our neighbors, and we have created a number of, let's say, diplomatic groups in order to keep the peace, the stability, and prosperity growing in our region. We have a very positive, very active, dynamic role in our region. This is going to be very positive also for Piraeus as a gate from the Pacific, from China to Europe.
Excuse me, Mr. Ambassador, before you continue with your wonderful reply.
By linking, Piraeus.
We are very happy to see the close economic interdependence would help ease our doubts about balkanization, which is a very important concept for world wars, because we have just commemorated the 100th anniversary of the First World War. Balkanization is a very dangerous phenomenon in international politics. So do you think economic interdependence will help ease tensions on balkanization?
Let me answer your questions one by one. You asked me about the Balkans. I said we are playing the opposite role from balkanization. We play a role of unifying this region and bringing it to Europe, which is very, very beneficial for everyone.
And we appreciate it very much.
That's one. The second I wanted to say is that we are connecting Piraeus, and which is very beneficial for Chinese ships because it saves time and money for them. We are connecting this with the rest of Europe, Central and Eastern Europe, and this is called, Land-Sea Expressway. So this is a very important project, not just for us, but also for our friends in the Balkans, for Europe, and for China. So as regards our role, of course, Greece is a bridge. It's a bridge where we always had in our history the role of a bridge between Africa, Europe, and Asia. And we are going to play, we continue to play this role. Also, why not? We want good relations between United States and China. I think everybody wants that. It's essential for world economy. It's essential also for world peace and world stability. So harmony between these relations. And we are going to do, of course, everything in our power to contribute to that. This is the policies that we have. So I wanted to be clear on that. We are in favor of good relations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador.
Nobody wants trade wars. Let me ask the Chinese ambassador about China's role internationally. Many people everybody understands that China is rising, and rising economically, is the second largest economy, but they do want China to play a more active role in politics, to take positions in the Middle East and other global issues. Why China is hesitating and to take positions, let's say, in the Middle East, Mr. Ambassador?
Well, Middle East is just too far away from China. This is a very important region in the world, but historically, China has not really been very deeply involved in these political issues. That's a fact.
But everybody, as I mentioned, is a big country, big power, a member of the Security Council.
Yes.
So everybody wants China to take a more active role on the international issues.
We are one of the P5, not just an ordinary member of the Security Council.
Permanent
we are one
members.
of the P5.
China has been very consistent and clear in its call for bringing peace and stability as well as development to the Middle East. However, we believe ultimately it's for the countries in the Middle East themselves ultimately to resolve their issues. And also countries around Middle East like Greece, like other European countries. Historically, you are more closely linked, integrated in one way or another with Middle Eastern countries. So Europe, I think, should play a bigger role. We will be happy to join any international initiative to bring peace to the Middle East. But we need to be realistic. Look at the Syrian issue. I think both Russia, Turkey, Iran, they want to resolve the problem among themselves. They may not be happy if other outside countries want to get in.
China is a friend of both the Arab League as well as Israel and, of course, the Persian state of Iran. Having said this, the Middle East is said to be the grave of power politics, or grave of great powers. And also China has long called for non-interference with the internal affairs of whatever countries. Is that because of these two reasons that China has been very cautious in keeping a distance from the Middle East?
I would not describe China as a global power. I think that China has greater influence in Asia and the Pacific around these areas. Historically, geopolitically, Middle East is just too far away from China. And I don't think it's realistic to call on countries like China to play a greater role in the Middle East than the Middle East countries themselves and countries like Europe around the Middle East.
May I have the doubts may I have the benefits of doubts with regard to the distance between the Middle East and China? In fact, the oil stakes have brought China with the Middle East greatly together. Do you think, geopolitical distance is not the issue? The issue is we have imported so much from the oil-rich states in the Gulf. So China is not far away from the Middle East, the volatile region, most volatile region in the world.
And that is why China wants to maintain good ties with all Middle Eastern countries. Whether they fight or against each other, that is not an issue for us. We want to maintain good ties with Iran, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Iraq, you name it. So we want to be good ties with all of them, and we hope that the closer economic integration between China and Middle East countries will help, to some extent, ease tension, internal tension in the Middle East. Greater oil imports to China and greater mutual access to markets will help perhaps heal the wounds in the Middle East. That's my wish.
Having this, let me bring you back to Europe. Europe not just have, we have Greece, we have Western European countries, but we also have Scandinavians and those states in Central and Eastern Europe. You were the ambassador to Sweden. Now, on the agenda for politicians from Europe and China, we have two major issues. One is Greece, which opened the gateway to continental Europe. The other is 16+1 mechanism. Politicians in Brussels show their grave concerns about the growing presence and stakes of China in Central and Eastern Europe. Do you think they have legitimate grievances against China's establishment of the stakes there?
I don't think so. China's ongoing cooperation with the Central and Eastern European countries is conducted in keeping with regulations of the EU. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We have no intention to keep Central and Eastern Europe countries separate from EU. Everything we have done is done on the basis of due diligence. We make sure that before we launch a project, such as railway construction project, we want to make sure that it conforms with EU regulations and standards. Otherwise, it would not have been undertaken in the first place. That's why I don't think I've seen any member government of the European Union has raised any formal complaint or opposition to China's involvement in upgrading infrastructure in Central and Eastern Europe. I think, in fact, they should welcome this, because I think EU itself lacks the funding for improving infrastructures in Central and Eastern European countries. And we have brought in capital. We are doing Europe a service. We are trying to help Europe to build up one of its sub-regions. So why should raise any opposition about this? Because this, at the end of the day, this can only bring China, Central, Eastern Europe, and the whole Europe close together. I can't really think of any other hidden agenda or hidden motive about this.
Mr. Rocanas, let me take you back to the bilateral, the impact of improving the bilateral relations. Tourism is one of the sectors that is very important for both countries, but Greece is taking only a small portion of Chinese tourists that travel worldwide every year. Why is that? What China can do about it? What Greece can do about it?
Perhaps one follow-up question for the ambassador from Greece is that what can you add to the shopping list of Chinese women? Because they went to Europe not for sightseeing, but for shopping. Let them know what they can buy.
Okay. First of all, yes, you're very right. I mean, tourism is a cross-cutting sector, which means that it's a sector connected also with civilization, culture, and whatever, and much of our Greece's attraction to the 30 and more than million tourists that visit my country. I mean, we have 31, probably 32 million tourists. Most of them come also because of the fascination, not just because of the beautiful environment, and also because of the shopping. I do not deny that. Tourism is a very important economic sector for us. It gives a lot of jobs in Greece, a big percentage of our GDP also. The fact is that the tourists from China are not so many. I mean, they are between 110 and 150,000.
Do we have direct flights from Athens to Beijing?
Yes. This is why we have, as you said, we have been trying a long time ago. We have been trying to institute this direct flight. I think this direct flight has a very positive role in between Beijing and Athens. Now it's 3 times. We hope that this will increase in the future. And we're also fighting to create direct lines with other cities, including Shanghai, Guangzhou, perhaps Chongqing or Chengdu also. This would, I think, would increase by itself the current of Chinese tourists to Greece and vice versa. Of course, tourism is also an instrument of dialogue and people-to-people contact, which is not negligible, you know. It's a very valuable means of increasing our communication, contacts, understanding of each other. It has other valuable positive benefits that we usually neglect in front of economic interests. It has economic interests. I guarantee you that the Chinese tourists that would come in my country will have great fun, first of all, and will enjoy their stay, both in cultural and civilizational terms and shopping terms. Greece is a it's a thriving market, especially now that the country is very much picking up from the last economic crisis. So tourism, yes, we are very much in favor. We're encouraging that as a government. And we think it's great also for Europe, because, look, tourism is not just with Greece. You know, Chinese tourists come to other European countries and come to Greece afterwards, or vice versa. They come to Greece and then move on to other European countries. So it's a great, great thing to do.
One of the last questions that I would raise, along with Fanny's, is Mr. Ambassador. Why, unlike most of the Western countries and people in those countries who call Greece just Greece, we call them Xila. And Xila in pronunciation is very close to Hellenistic wording. And it shows our affections for Greece in terms of civilization. Why?
I'm not a linguist. I do not think I have any answer to this question. But one thing I'm sure, I'm absolutely certain about, is the great fascination we in China have for Greece. Its past, its glory, its resilience, and its landscape, its the hospitality of its people. You talk about the need to promote greater tourist flows between China and Greece. I think it's important that the Greek government should really do more promotion about Greece in China to attract more young people. To young people in China, Greece is really a romantic destination. They go to Greece for wedding ceremonies, for wedding vacations. So focus
so
on
you
this
think it's a
group
matter of
people.
strategy, how Greece will promote its brand in China?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Make Greece,
Mr. Ambassador, you got a message.
make Greece the ultimate wedding travel destination for young people in China.
And as you know, the branding of Greece was most promoted during the Beijing Olympics, because it is
right.
Greece
You're
that's
right.
the cradle for the modern Olympic spirit.
Okay.
It is the torch relay that let the Chinese remember the name of Greece and the contributions your country made to human civilizations.
May I ask one question? How has Greece been able to stage this remarkable revival from this economic crisis just a few years ago?
I'll
This
tell
is
you,
truly remarkable. We feel a little bit puzzled about
It
it.
is indeed, and thank you very much for this question, because basically I think that Greece is contrary to what many people say. I think Greece is a very, very fine example of the resilient spirit that we have as a nation, and also in Europe. It's an example because we have gone over populism. I think we are in a post-populism stage. We are giving the example of, populists and nationalists don't have any power in my country. They have very small following, and they are not followed. We can be an example in Europe about this. And second, I think it's the answer is simple. It's the spirit of the Greek people. We owe the answer to this crisis predominantly to the Greek people. They lost 25% of the GDP. Can you imagine? This is a huge number by any measure. We lost 25%. We made terrible sacrifices to reform the country, to reform the pension system, to reform the administration, the labor market, to fight the double deficits, to regain all our competitiveness from 20 years back. We did all that with terrible sacrifices, by holding back, not enjoying now in favor of the future. We did that. The answer is by the sacrifices of the Greek people. That's the spirit. It's the only answer I can give you. It's the only thing that is worth mentioning. Of course, it's the government, but predominantly it's because Greeks did not go to abandon the Eurozone and to abandon Europe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador.
They were talking about Grexit, and actually Brexit happened. Grexit is not a possibility.
Mr. Ambassador and Ambassador Chen, we appreciate the resilience of the Greeks in surviving the economic crisis and in maintaining the collective future with the European Union. The message that we deliver through this dialogue with the world is not only just one about opening the gateway to continental Europe, but it's also about how to promote public service and public products due to a dialogue on civilization. If the Greeks and Chinese join hand, it means they would contribute to co-prosperity in a more inclusive world order. My Greek ambassador, Fanny, what do you want to say to the audience?
First of all, I want to say that the sense here of our discussion reflects the sense in the relations, the bilateral relations, which the ambassadors would know better. It's one of the best eras between the two. So it is that positive sense that can give us the platform to move forward. And of course, dialogue of civilizations has a role to play there.
Thank you so much. And that's it. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.